Okay, so with the last square roots that we looked at, it was a little bit simpler to see what could multiply into the numbers. These numbers that are underneath the square root, those are a lot larger. So what I like to do is start on the middle of our common squares, like with this 36, 49, 64, 81 range, and then work down so that way I don't have to simplify more than once. So if we are looking at this, 152 can't be divided by 36 or 49 or 64. I checked all of those by saying 152 divided by those numbers. But what I did find was that this one was a little bit tricky, and 152 can be divided by 4. So if 152 is divided by 4, it leaves us with 4 times 38. Now 4 is the same thing as 2 squared, so I'm going to plug in 2 squared where I see 4 and multiply it times 38 still. And then the square root of 2 squared times the square root of 38 is still okay. The square root of 2 squared is just 2, and square root 38 can't be simplified anymore, but we have to have this plus or minus. Now if we look at 320, this time when we start in the middle range, starting with 81, 64, 49, and divide, 320 divided by 64 gives us a perfect number. So 320 divided by 64 is equal to 5. So we can actually split this up to be 64 times 5 equal to 320. And if we are looking at our list of common squares, 64 is the same as 8 squared. So we can sub it in and then split it up into our 2 separate multiplications. And the square root of 8 squared is just 8 square root 5. And plus or minus goes on to the outside because it's a square root. And then when we look at 288, which is also a very large number, we need to check out this middle column and maybe even over into the 11s and 12s. And so whenever I tested these numbers, I found that 288 divided by 144 gave me 2, which is a perfect division. So I can rewrite 288 as 144 times 2. And 144 is the same thing as 12 squared times 2. And then we can take the square root of 12 squared times the square root of 2. And the square root of 12 squared is just 12 square root 2. But since it's square roots, we have that plus or minus.